All right, so my name is Antonio. I'm the head brewer here at Cervecería Feroz. I started home brewing around 12 years ago, something like that. And around 2015, 2016, I started working in a on a bar, a brew pub, where we did our own beer. So I started brewing for this brew pub called El Republicano. I was originally an architect, and then I was doing designing during the day and then brewing at night, and I was basically having no life at all. So I started brewing beer. I was lucky enough to win an award in Copa Cervezas America, I think 2018 or 17, something like that, which is in Chile. And I decided that I wanted to become a brewer and just focus on one thing. And around 2019, we opened up Cervecería Feroz. Me, a couple of cousins, a couple of friends, we joined up, put in a lot of money because this is expensive. And we opened Feroz to the public in May 2019. We used to work with a lab that was near here, and we're basically doing one-off. We get the yeast, we use it, and then we order new yeast for the next beer. And when we're doing the dry yeast, same thing. We were not reusing yeast. Then we started. I started doing this without a microscope, just by feel and just hoping, just checking that the pH was right, and smelling and tasting, so that no trying to get no autolysis, and it kind of worked, but it was like it was very touch and go. I mean, I lost 2 batches of beer because it didn't start fermenting, but I've been trying to get for. I mean, since 2020, I was trying to get an alkalized, but with the pandemic and stuff, we didn't have money for it. So we had to focus on where we could spend. And the lab we used to work with closed in August last year. So that increased. So we're doing a lot of beer that we couldn't brew with dry yeast. So we needed to have our own source of liquid yeast. So we decided to do our own beer, our own yeast catalog here in the brewery. So we have a special lab inside the brewery doing our yeast, and we needed to do a cell count to do that. And so I decided I didn't want to buy a microscope and do it by hand, because the times I've done that, it takes me around 10 times just to get it right, because one mistake can throw you off a lot. So I started using Oculize in, I think it was October, November last year. And we finally got our yeast bank here ready in January, and that's when I started going all the way. So right now I'm with Oculize. I've been able to reuse yeast. I'm up to 3 generations right now, and safely, like checking that everything's above 90%, cell counts, everything's easier. Quality control, and yeast repitching, and I don't know. I already have like in mind what kind of yeast I want to use in our beers. So, I mean, if the yeast is fresh, I'll use it, and if it gives me something different, then it'll help my creativity as well. But it always helps out, like if I'm doing the correct pitching, if I'm low, is the esters I'm getting pitching low helping me out, or damaging my beer? Stuff like that I'm looking into. It also helps me out refining the process. I was using compressed air, now I'm using oxygen. So I've been changing everything I can to get healthier yeast. But without having the Oculize, there's no way I could do that. Now having the system with me, I can check if my yeast count is low and my yeast spring before pitching, and why is it low? If I can change one variable, see how it works, and then just continue counting, and it helps me out million ways. I've increased my productivity a lot. Being able to go up to 3 generations has increased my turnout, so I can beer faster because each generation is ferments faster. I can store yeast in my drink in my cold room and keep feeding it, so I don't need to do more new generations. And I can check if the health of the yeast is well or not, and then helps me out if I need to do a new pitch, or I can use the one I have in my cold room. It helps me out, like just changing from compressed air to pure oxygen has increased fermentation times a lot. I mean, decreased fermentation times. Without counting, I couldn't have done that because I didn't know what was happening inside. Now I know what's happening. The way I look at designing a beer, it's similar to the way I looked at when I designed the building. And so it kind of helps me, like colors and like the taste and aroma that I want. It helps me like build it that way. I don't know. That's the way I think about it. One of my partners is a branding director in a big branding company, and so this is like his pet project. And the idea here is it goes a lot with where we are. We are located in Ciudad del Saber. Ciudad del Saber used to be a U.S. military base, and now it's a center for education, scientific research. There's the United Nations here, and a lot of international governmental institutions. And we're next to the Panama Canal and next to the jungle. So that's where our name comes. Feroz, it means fierce, like the jungle dwellers. And the idea we've had always when we got the name was to like incorporate what we can find in the jungle in Panama. We have more now than from other parts of the world, but originally, or all our animals, you could find them in the Panama Canal area near in the jungle. So you have like our most sold beer is Lagarto Juancho. It's a crocodile, surfer crocodile. We have a lot of crocodiles. And in the like one of the big zoos, or no, I wasn't the zoo. It's around near here. There used to live a huge gator. He was huge, and we called him Lagarto Juancho. It was the popular name here in Panama. And he died a couple of years ago, and we decided to name our beer after him. So we have like similar stories. You have Universo Alterno, which is our alt beer. When we were thinking of a name, I think that like the second season of Stranger Things came on, and we were like it's the upside down, it's an alternative world, stuff like that. Because the name, I mean, for you guys, alt beer means something different. For us, it's like alternative. So it was like that. It could be something like that. And it was like a little squirrel riding his bicycle. And then most of our beers have like that sort of story in them. So you have like the animal from the canal doing something. The name has something to do with the idea we're going with. We are relatively new in beer industry. I think our oldest craft beer started in 2007, something like that. So it's relatively new. But we do have, since we have the Panama Canal, we have the Colon Free Zone, which used to be a free trade place. we used to get beers from all over the world. So we had an advantage over, I think, most of Latin America in the kind of beers we had. I mean, in 2014, you could get Ballast Point, you could get Stone, you could get we get Bitburger, we have Erdinger, we have Paulaner, we have a lot of beers from Germany, from the United Kingdom, from England. I mean, from the US and from Belgium. I mean, we have one of our stores here sells beers that you can get basically in Belgium and Panama. So it's weird. And when you have that much beer here, people start drinking different stuff, trying to do different things, and it helps us out that the local custom is to drink imported because imported is better than local. So we had to do better beer so that people would want to drink our beer. So it helped us out in the end. I have we're gonna do a Oktoberfest for the first time here in the brewery. I'm going to do a doppelbock just to change it up. Why not? And like now that I have a couple of I have my yeast bank here, I'm experimenting with different yeasts to see what they do. For example, like I started fermenting our IPAs with lager yeast instead of ale yeast, and I've been like working with that, maybe blending a couple of yeast strains to see something new, and we're basically trying to do lagers and farmhouse ales. So that's my plan.